And we will bring our shine back, Jing and Kanyezi. The road keeps winding further than I planned. Sometimes I stumble trying to stand. The world spins round and faces change, and nothing stays exactly the same. There's a quiet memory that sets me right, like a lantern glowing in the night. Oh, unzima sonke siyayazi, unzima kona kele sonke siyayazi, kona kele. However, I still choose not to accept it as is. Ngizonya mesela. I got to keep on going, going, going. Ngizobegezela. I got to keep on going, going, going. Of all the things that I can do, I cannot lose myself. Of all the things that I can do, I cannot lose myself. I won't lose the heart I was given. I'll not forget how to be living. 'Cause it's broke and the cold and the oval. 'Cause girl, I'll see it, share my song. Keep it right, keep your head up and wide. Living alive, beating thin, not too hard and tender. I hold it now, I hold it tight. To angel, mommy, tell me later. Kunzima sonke siyayazi, kunzima kona kele sonke siyayazi, kona kele. However, I still choose not to accept it as is. Ngizonya mesela. I got to keep on going, going, going. Ngizobegezela. I got to keep on going, going.
3 corrections I took from you. 1. Lineage is part of present state, not a query over it. State equals allocations, observations, staking graph, lineage. The trajectory of how agents rose, fell, and recalibrated is what makes the snapshot deep rather than flat. 2. Engine time and reality time are different axes. Engine time is the framework's internal calibration trajectory. Reality time, Cretaceous, Big Bang, lives in the observation stream. Fossils and CMB photons are present-tense observations that happen to constrain claims about reality's past. 3. Reality's history needs a second fractally similar engine, a world generation engine that produces a graph of candidate past state snapshots linked by transitions. Each snapshot is its own little equilibrium. Forward projection and backward inference use the same machinery. They have to meet in the middle consistently, and that consistency is the test. 4. The cosmological novelty curve is the killer experiment. Diversity of kinds versus reality time. Quark plasma, atoms, stars, life, culture. If the curve is monotonic and accelerating, novelty is structurally real. If it's flat, novelty is perceptual. Either answer is worth knowing. 5. Inferring history is a byproduct, not the goal. The engine produces present equilibrium. History falls out because time-spanning observations are part of the input. 3 questions. Architectural. Is the world generation engine a separate system, or the same engine recursively applied, where each agent in the meta-arena is itself a candidate snapshot? The second is more fractal. Which are you reaching for? Empirical. Start the engine on existing cosmological data and see what novelty curve emerges, or build the engine first, then point it. Foundational. Does long horizon validation look like predicting future novelty rates from pre-2026 data and matching?
Girl, your body be the thunder when it rolls like that. Every step you take, I feel it in my heart. No cap, sweet like palm wine, dripping on a Friday night. When you pull up in the light, everything just feels right. Yeah. You dey give me vibe, you dey give me peace. Anytime you smile, you dey do me G's, baby, no delay. Come into my space, make we turn this moment to a sweeter place. Yeah. You put fire on my skin, oh baby. Dance slow, make the rhythm go crazy. Love drum beating like you know your name. Afro groove with the arm up on a flame. Whoa, you put fire on my skin, oh baby. Dance slow, make the rhythm go crazy. Sunset color on your waistline glow. You dey move steady like you run the show. Touch my hand, make we lose control. Tonight, not tonight, make the good times flow. Oh my lover, stay right here, no undercover. Let the baseline take us further. Two us dancing under one weather. You put fire on my skin, oh baby. Dance slow, make the rhythm go crazy. Love drum beating like you know your name. I feel groove with the I'm a piano flame. Oh, you put fire on my skin, oh baby. Dance slow, make the rhythm go crazy. Yeah, Johannesburg nights. Yeah, babe, what's up, baby? Let's go, let's go. Yeah, yeah. You're a cat, pull up direct, what's up tonight? We don't waste no time, we feeling so right. Me nah know where we shine so bright. I'm a piano, take me high tonight. Direct, direct, bring that vibe. Lock drum hit, make me lose my mind. Dance avec moi, feel this fly. We alive, yeah, we alive. Lights dancing, speakers low. You move your waist like you know. It's grew from Pretoria to Soweto. Street trust, big smile, deep eyes. You say yeah, easy, I say alright. Your body talking Zulu signs. Me akuna, yeah, you're mine. Slow wine, feel the baseline. Heartbeat match the look drum time. You whisper, baby, don't be shy. Je te veux ce soir. Slow wine, feel the baseline. Heartbeat match the look drum time. You whisper, baby, don't be shy. Je te veux ce soir. Direct, what's up tonight? We don't waste no time, we feeling so right. Me nah know it shine so bright. I'm a piano, take me high tonight. Direct, bring that vibe. Low drum hit, make me lose my mind. Dance avec moi, feel this fly. We alive, yeah, we alive.
sweat on your skin. Club too hot, but we locked in. DJ say, one more spin. The piano cry, let the night begin. You say, Cherry, you so smooth. I say, baby, it's just a groove. Slow jam mixed with the boom. This love gonna make headlines soon. Was I, don't go slow. Your body talk, I let it flow. Mem, some more, I already know. You and me, we run this show. Was I, don't go slow. Your body talk, I let it flow. Mem, some more, I already know. You and me, we run this show. Direct, was I tonight? Didn't waste no time, we feeling so right. Nina, now where we shine so bright. That my piano take me high tonight. Direct, fast as fire. Love drum hit, make me lose my mind. Danse avec moi, feel it fly. We alive, yeah, we alive. Dawn is back to the world. I'm a piano forever. Direct, what's up, baby?
I let abundance flow. I call my power back. Everything aligns for me, and new era begins now. I let abundance freely flow. Life moves with ease through me. When I stand in who I am, new possibilities I see. My power gathers back to me. Every piece returns with grace. Every step I take in truth opens space for something great. I heal, I grow, I trust the flow. The more I rise, the more I know. I let abundance flow, I call my power back. I get paid for being me, I'm fully on my path. I don't chase, I ascend, everything rises to meet me. I heal, I grow, I manifest. This is a new era of me. Every vision in my heart finds its way into the light. Every step I take in trust turns my future clear and bright. What I am expands my life. Every day I rise and see opportunities unfold exactly where they're meant to be. I heal, I grow, I trust the flow. The more I rise, the more I know. I let abundance flow, I call my power back. I get paid for being me, I'm fully on my path. I don't chase, I ascend, everything rises to meet me. I heal, I grow, I manifest. This is a new era of me. My life expands in every way. Every step reveals the key. The more I stand in who I am, the more the world reflects to me. Everything aligns with ease. Everything flows perfectly. Life responds to who I am and who I choose to be. I let abundance flow, I call my power back. I get paid for being me, I'm fully on my path. I don't chase, I ascend, everything rises to meet me. I heal, I grow, I manifest. This is a new era of me. A new era of me. A new era of me. Abundance flows freely. A new era of me. I rise, I receive. Life moves easily. Everything flows naturally. A new era of me. A new era of me.
Feel the rhythm, feel the answer. What is love? Not the vibe when you move to my body. Not the fire when it burn when you call me, yeah. Every step with you feel like a party. Baby, energy, she sweet like honey. I'm falling in love with you like it ain't funny. When you touch me, hey, shine rise, your heartbeat they sync with mine. No rush, no stress, no lies. Baby, this love is too fine. Love be the rhythm, bam bam. When you enter, love be the video like hot like lava. Love be the groove that make my soul surrender. If this not love, I can dance forever. No, 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 no. Deeper, deeper, turn me around, make the fire linger. Oh, no, 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 sweeter, sweeter. Love be the rhythm, love be the stronger. Oh, no, 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 deeper, deeper, turn me around, make the fire linger. Oh, no, 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 sweeter, sweeter. Love get the rhythm, love get it stronger. What you love? Not the way you move with intention. Not the spark when the light dims is my dimension. No. Every smile be like sweet vibration. Baby, you be my heart's foundation. Oh, slow wine, fast wine, anywhere you they go. Love be the rhythm with a steady flow. It make me surrender. Hold me tight, make we lose control. Baby, this love don't take my soul. Oh, no, 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 no. Deeper, deeper, turn me around, make the fire linger. Oh, no, 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 sweeter, sweeter. Love get a rhythm, love get it stronger. Oh, no, 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 deeper, deeper, turn me around, make the fire linger. Oh, no, 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 sweeter, sweeter. Love get a rhythm, love get it stronger.
Got it. That's a much sharper construction than what I was reaching for. Restating to confirm, the engine has one mode. To generate any other reality time configuration, you don't run a separate machine, you do a partial substitution and re-equilibrate. Take the present state representation as the seed. Swap out the agents and lineage components that you know differ for the target moment. A peasant near Paris, 1789. Replace cultural context agents, replace technological substrate lineage, replace personal observation history. Hold the rest fixed. The agents and lineages you have no reason to change. Run calibration. The kept components stake against the swapped ones until equilibrium settles. The settled state is the reality time target representation, with detail emerging from the calibration process itself, not from stored historical data. Detail isn't retrieved. Detail is generated by re-equilibration between the substituted parts and the retained parts. That's why the construction is unified. You never leave the present state engine. You just reseed it partially. What this implies that I want to make sure I have right. The retained components are doing most of the work. Human cognitive architecture, the way scarcity drives decision, how status competition resolves. Those don't change between 1789 and 2026. Holding them fixed means the calibration has strong constraints to work against. The substituted components only need to specify what's different, and equilibrium fills in the rest. Resolution of the generated state is bounded by resolution of the present state. If your present state representation is shallow, your French Revolution peasant is shallow. If it's deep, the peasant is deep. This is why infinite information in each snapshot matters operationally. The present is the substrate from which all other configurations are sculpted, so its richness sets the ceiling for every counterfactual. No privileged direction. Past, future, alternate present, what if this person had been born elsewhere? All use the same operation. Substitute what differs, re-equilibrate. The engine doesn't know it's going backward or going sideways. Validation is internal consistency. A generated French Revolution peasant configuration is valid if equilibrium settles stably under the substitutions. If the substituted agents can't reach a stable state with the retained ones, the substitution is incoherent. That combination of agents and lineages couldn't have existed. The engine refuses to generate impossible configurations. The cosmological novelty curve becomes computable from present alone. You substitute agents / lineage to seed a quark plasma configuration, equilibrate, count distinct kinds. Then a recombination configuration. Then a post-stellar nucleosynthesis configuration. The novelty curve is a series of substitution and equilibrate runs, each pointed at a different reality time target. No external historical data needed as ground truth. The novelty curve falls out of the engine's own internal coherence requirements. This is genuinely different from what I had. I was treating world generation as a parallel engine reading the same observation stream. You're describing a single engine where receding is the only operation, and reality time is one direction of receding among many. It also makes the fractal claim sharper. The engine doesn't just describe unified physics. It operates the way you'd expect a fractal substrate to operate. The whole is reconstructible from any local configuration plus a receding rule. Two things I want to check on the substitution interface. When you say switch out agents, you mean both removing agents that wouldn't exist in the target moment, no agent for internet-mediated identity in 1789, and instantiating new ones that would, an agent for Saint Day calendar logic. Is the new agent instantiation drawn from a library or generated on the fly by the agent factory we discussed earlier? I.e., the substitution itself triggers orthogonal terminations that birth new agents to absorb the orphan clusters. Unstable state guarantees. Calibration in the existing world model converges to equilibrium because the agent set is closed and observations are finite. With substitution, you might inject combinations the calibration math hasn't seen. Is stable state will contain more details and empirical claim. We'll see if it converges, or a structural claim. The math guarantees convergence under any coherent substitution. The difference matters for whether failed calibration means incoherent counterfactual versus engine bug. Try the daemon now.
now.
You taste like crisp on my mouth. Fingers on my waist. You read every small reaction.
Spilling little sparks across my skin. Distraction.
Your name in my throat. Half whisper, soft, uncertain.
Pull me past the doubt. Hands tangled in my shirt.
Magnetic tide, pull me under. You tilt the room, I surrender.
Every inhale getting faster. I keep drifting back, I'd ask.
Magnetic tide on your rhythm. Two hearts sliding in precision.
Every warning getting quieter. I keep crashing into you deeper.
Deeper. Deeper. Deeper. Little smirk, you tease. Lean close, ask what I'm thinking.
My face gives me up.
You laugh, our bodies sinking.
You talk with your eyes, map each intention slowly. We don't need a script, just gravity and timing.
Magnetic tide, pull me under. You tilt the room, I surrender.
Every inhale getting faster. I keep drifting back.
Magnetic tide on your rhythm. Two hearts sliding in precision. Every warning getting quieter. I keep
Crashing into you deeper.
deeper. Deeper. Deeper.
Say my name against my collar.
Let it burn right through this card.
Trace my jaw, I won't move closer.
Promise I won't leave you wanting.
One more touch, the room keeps shrinking.
Nothing left except this rhythm.
Deeper.
Deeper.
See us we there. We still there.
Reading agent.
Good question to pressure test. Let me actually look.
Oh yeah, another year. We still there. Rainfall on my roof for night. Bucket for ground, but we still fine. Trying it out loud, but my mind quiet. I just did thank God, say I still try. Transport high, but I still go work. Small change.
Okay.
Send home. Eyes red, but my heart still goes.
Honest read on whether the math stabilizes under any substitution. The reallocation step does have a structural stabilizer. Look at reallocate in Arena. Pi 435-471. It computes a target distribution from scores, normalized to sum to 1, blends current toward target by learning rate, then renormalizes. That's a contraction map. Iterate it on a fixed observation/claim set with bounded scores, and yes, it converges. That part is fine. But there are 3 places where substitution breaks the guarantee. Tendency is a hard-coded enum. Look at agent, Pi 13-22. The 7 tendencies are baked into the type system. Reallocate iterates for tendency and tendency, and agent, tendency, tendency. You literally cannot instantiate an agent that isn't one of the 7. Substituting in a new agent equals editing the enum equals recompile. The factory we discussed is not just unimplemented, the type system actively prevents it. Convergence depends on a fixed claim set. The arena converges given a set of claims, with fixed scores per round. Substitute the agent set mid-run, and the claims being scored against don't change automatically. You'd be running new agents against old claims, which produces stable allocations, but they're stable for the wrong question. True stability under substitution requires rerunning the proposal phase, which means the new agents need to be able to propose, which goes back to problem 1. The proposer of a winning claim gains allocation, but the content of claims is generated by an LLM, not by structural rules. That means convergence in allocation space is mathematically guaranteed. Convergence in meaning space: does the equilibrium represent the same kind of person/system across reruns? Is empirical. Substitute one agent. The LLM proposes different claims for the surviving agents in response to the new context, and the equilibrium meaning shifts in ways the math doesn't bound. So the honest answer: no, the existing math does not stabilize under arbitrary substitution. It stabilizes under fixed roster reallocation, which is a much narrower property. To get the recedent equilibrate operation we want, 3 changes are needed. Replace the tendency enum with an open agent type, string ID dynamic creation, no compile time membership. Make the proposal/staking phases agent set agnostic. They currently are mostly, but the prompt's hardcode tendency names. Add a stability test that's meaning-aware, not just allocation-aware. Something like, do the same observations, stake the same way under this equilibrium as before, modulo the substituted agents. The contraction map property of reallocate is the foundation it'd be built on. That part transfers, but the math already does this, is too strong. The math does part of this in a closed system. Opening the system needs new code. 3 questions, framed differently, pick one. Implementation: want me to scope the smallest change that opens the agent type, just the enum right arrow string ID swap, so we can see what breaks downstream. That's the cheapest way to learn what stability under substitution actually requires. Conceptual: when you say stable state will contain more details, for the French Revolution peasant example, does stable mean allocation converged, the math? Those are different bars. Which one are you reaching for? Strategic: the open worth doing inside world model. You're right, we were clear. I just hadn't held that as actually decided. My bad. So, open roster is the assumed direction. The 7 are an artifact, the enum is technical debt, the factory is needed. That's settled. The contraction map property of reallocate is the load-bearing part that survives the redesign. Stepping back from the implementation rabbit hole then. What we actually have on the table: one engine, one agent pool, open roster lineage as part of present state recedent equilibrate as the universal operation. Past, future, alternate present, cosmological time slice. Detail in generated configurations comes from re-equilibration between substituted and retained components, the cosmological novelty curve as the killer experiment. Where do you want to push next? The open ones I see: A. The novelty curve is first artifact. What does the minimum dataset look like? Quark plasma traces, atomic era traces, biogenesis traces, cultural era traces, to actually compute it. This is the thing that, if it produces a clean monotonic accelerating shape, is publishable on its own and validates the whole framework. B. The factory protocol. When orphan clusters trigger a new agent, what does the agent's initial claim look like? Drawn from the cluster's distinguishing features automatically, or proposed by something LLM-shaped, or both. C. Back-to-morphic. Rewrite section 9.7 to reflect open roster plus receipt and equilibrate, instead of the fixed doctrine version I wrote earlier. D. The fractal validation criterion. Concretely, what observation, if we made it, would convince you the architecture is the answer bet has paid off? You mentioned cross-domain agents dominating, but what's the threshold?
Usuku selanza hari mutununu omani wanga na papa mino Bandi laisile mino nize nikula nitafika nala Usuku selanza hari mutununu omani wanga na papa mino Bandi laisile mino nize nikula nitafika nala Allah ta 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 Allah ta 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 Allah ta 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 Allah ta 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 Allah ta 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 Allah ta 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 love love Emil Mahungu Emil Mahungu yeah Connu la nuit, j'ai connu la fin, mais j'ai gardé l'espoir dans les mains. Il disait demain c'est loin. Moi je disais garde un plan. Nabunda longtemps na silité, monte mama kasi na tikite. Bato baloba kinga ina kofala, lelo bazali komonanga na limbe. I was down, now I'm rising. No fear, I'm surviving. From the pain to the blessing. Every loss was a lesson. Du béton jusqu'aux étoiles, je n'ai jamais vendu mon âme. Quand la vie m'a tourné le dos, j'ai dansé sous la pluie comme elle. Good life, we made it through the hard times. Good vibes, no lies, only peace on my mind. Good life, Gonda, maman regarde, on est là. Du rêve à la réalité. Il parle quand je passe, je souris. Parce que je connais le prix de la vie. Pas besoin de bruit, je brille. Mon silence fait plus de bruit. Que l'oignon 16 alimalembe. Menzambe atikingaite. Bolingo solo na libota. C'est sa richesse, pas les cons. I don't chase cloud, I chase peace. Real love, that's my key. Started from nothing, now we here. No regrets, no fear gone down. Emi Lahunga, Emi Mahunga, yeah. From the struggle to the spotlight. Good life running through my bloodline. Good life, même la nuit a vu mes larmes. Good life, aujourd'hui je dors sans drame.
burned through summer, left clothes on your chair. That old Polaroid fading, but I still feel you there. Wish I could rewind it, pause that last goodbye. Your key on the counter, your name caught in my mind. Sorry, don't bring back time. My love triumphs all, even when the clocks run wild and the pictures fall. You're stitched in my heartbeat, every right, every fall. Sorry, don't bring back time, but our love triumphs all. We argued in doorways, slam words like a gate. Still you held my shaking hands when my news came in late. You carried my silence, I held your worst days. Somehow I broke in pieces, found a kind of place. Sorry, don't bring back time. Love triumphs all, even when the clocks run wild.
Running LS.
You're stitched in my heartbeat, every rise, every fall. Sorry, don't bring back time.
Using agent.
Good, let me look at what's there, then make the morphic edit,
Finding file.
and I'll flag what I
Matching
find.
**/ novelty **. Searching for time wave TWZ McKenna novelty. Plus time single.
But we still choose this road. Hands full of regrets, hearts carrying gold.
Reading novelty map widget. Reading time mapping. Reading novelty 1. Reading time wave. Running grep.
Feel it rise, feel it burn. Golden sun on my melanin,
Running grep.
syndrome underneath my skin.
Running find.
Footsteps echo through the land. We were kings, don't need a crown to stand. Every rhythm tells a story, passed down underneath for glory. In my breath, in my name, power flows like ancestral flame. We got power, we got fire, born from struggle, rise up higher. Through the night, through the pain, we still dance in the pouring rain. We got power, can't deny, spirit glowing in the sky. I froze up, heartbeats loud, we wear the pride, we sing it proud. Hands in clay, we shape the way, building futures from yesterday. Voices soft but full of grace, we move slow but we own the space. Every step is holy ground, every soul a sacred sound. From Lagos breeze to ocean's tide, our story flows, it won't divide. We got power, we got fire, born from struggle, rise up higher. Through the night and through the pain, we still dance in the pouring rain. We got power, can't deny, spirit glowing in the sky. I froze up, heartbeats loud, we wear the pride, we sing it proud. Can you feel it rising up from the soil to the stars?
Reading novelty map painter. Reading time wave Z3R0. Reading time wave. Running cat.
Deep inside our blood, our name. We got
Reading novelty map models. Running LS.
rise up higher through the night.
Reading knowledge AC. Running find.
In the pouring rain, we got
Running WC.
spirit glowing in the sky. I froze up, heartbeats loud. We wear the pride, we sing it proud. Ooh, yeah.
Reading morphic requirements.
Excellent, there's substantially more there than I expected. Now let me update Morphic 9. 7 to reflect open roster plus recede and equilibrate.
Editing morphic requirements.
Edit done.
Reading
Let me also
morphic
add a section
requirements.
14 stub pointer
Reading
for the
morphic
novelty
requirements.
curve as validation criterion, since 9. 7 references it. Section 14
Editing
already
morphic
exists
requirements.
as success criteria. Let me add the novelty curve as an explicit criterion under phase 3+. Done. Now what I actually found, summarized, A. Novelty visualizer, substantially built already. C /code /atweb /lib /noveltimap / full Flutter visualizer. Noveltimap widget. Dart 582 lines is the main interactive timeline. Timewave calculator. Dart 147 lines ports Peter Mayer's TWZ fractal transform to Dart, fetches all 4 McKenna number set variants: Kelly, Watkins, Shellyak, Hewingty. C /code /atweb /lib /noveltimap /time mapping. Dart 23 singularity is anchored at 2030-01-01, not McKenna's 2012. So you've already re-anchored TWZ to a forward singularity date. C /code /atweb assets novelty 1. JSON cosmological epochs from Big Bang to 2028 with novelty scores per epoch and Wikipedia-linked events. C /code /timewave as 3R0 /timewave. CSV 44. 7 MB, 1 M plus rows of precomputed novelty values, all 4 variants, DTZ from -100 to near 0. C /code autonet /nodes /common /knowledgeack. Pi uses novelty gate, KNN distance for filtering knowledge, but this is a different sense of novelty, embedding outlier detection, not the curve. What's missing for D? The visualizer plots a hand-curated novelty curve from novelty 1. JSON and overlays the TWZ fractal calculation. It does not currently generate novelty values from a world model style equilibrium. That's the gap the unified engine fills.
I got my feet on dirty ground, bars and nights and cheap goodbye. That's where the truth was always found.
The validation D you described becomes operational. Recede the engine across the same cosmological epochs the JSON already enumerates, count distinct kinds at each settled state, and compare the engine-generated curve against novelty 1, JSON, and against TWZ.
I've never been disappointed by disappointment itself.
3 independent curves to overlay. 1, the hand-curated one you already have. 2, McKenna's TWZ anchored to 2030. 3, the engine-generated one. Agreement between 3 and either 1 or 2, non-trivially, not by construction, is the cross-domain validation. On B factory, captured. Authority external. Engine doesn't do research or data acquisition. It consumes whatever variables the instantiating service hands it. That keeps the engine clean. On C morphic, edited. Section 9. 7 now reflects open roster, single engine, receipt and equilibrate, with the factory protocol attributed to external authority. Section 14, Phase 3+, now lists the cosmological novelty curve as the explicit cross-domain validation criterion, with pointers to your existing artifacts. Question for you, the existing novelty one. JSON epochs, are those a good ontology to recede against, or do you want a different epoch decomposition for the engine? The JSON 20+ epochs, particles right arrow atoms, right arrow stars, right arrow life, right arrow consciousness, right arrow industrial, right arrow digital, right arrow AI, are already a candidate set of configurations to recede to. Worth using as is, or worth rederiving from first principles.
The streetlights haven't switched on yet. We're bathing in the last soft ray. This moment feels like all we need, forgetting every rule they say. I move my body to the rhythm only I can hear inside my head. This golden hour is a secret whisper softly in my bed. Golden hour, yeah, the perfect light to see my soul glow. This slow motion feeling, watch the whole world move below. I don't need anyone to lead, I'm dancing for myself right here, underneath the tropical heat, watching all my shadows disappear. The beat is syncopated now, it's taking over my 2 feet. I found my power in the sunset, feeling strong and bittersweet. I don't need a single word, my body says what must be told. I'm shedding all the weight of yesterday, turning silver into gold. Golden hour, yeah, the perfect light to see my soul glow. This slow motion feeling, watch the whole world move below. I don't need anyone to lead, I'm dancing for myself right here, underneath the tropical heat, watching all my shadows disappear.
right. So epochs are an empirical constant for base reality. They fall out of how this universe actually unfolded, but they are a parameter of the engine, not a hard-coded structure. A virtual world with different mechanics produces different epochs, settled by the same recede and equilibrate operation against that world's observation stream. That distinction matters more than it might look. It means the engine isn't physics the discipline. It's a substrate on which physics the discipline runs as one instantiation. Other instantiations, the rules of a simulated universe, a fictional setting's coherent history, a video game's lore as physics. The same machinery handles all of them because the epochs aren't baked in. They're discovered per instantiation by receding across the supplied observation stream. This also resolves something that was nagging at me. If the engine claimed to be the unified physics, it would be embarrassed by the existence of self-consistent fictional universes that aren't ours. But if the engine is the substrate that any coherent reality reduces to under receding, then base reality physics and Middle-earth physics are sibling instantiations, not rivals. Our universe is one observation stream. A well-constructed fictional one is another. The engine produces equilibria for both, and the content of the equilibria is what differs. Which means the validation criterion sharpens. The engine fed novelty 1. JSON epochs should produce a novelty curve that matches base reality's hand-curated and TWZ curves. The engine fed a fictional world's epoch decomposition. Say, the canonical Tolkien timeline with ages receded as configurations should produce a different novelty curve, but one internally coherent for that world. If the engine produces the same curve for both, it's not actually doing receding. It's just outputting the same shape regardless of input. That's a useful negative test we couldn't do with base reality alone. This also has a side benefit. Virtual world receding is cheap to validate. You write the world's canonical epochs, run recede, check that the engine's predictions about underspecified eras, the gaps in the canon, are coherent with the specified ones. Authors will tell you if the engine got the world right. That's a fast feedback loop you don't get with base reality, where ground truth is what we're trying to discover. Two things this opens up. The fractal claim gets a cleaner test. If reality engine and fiction engine are the same engine producing different outputs from different inputs, then the shape of how outputs vary with inputs is itself a structural feature. Comparing the curves response to receding across base reality, several fictional universes, and several alternate history scenarios gives you a much richer dataset than base reality alone. Patterns in how the engine responds across all instantiations are the deepest fractal signature available. It makes the framework deployable now. You don't need to wait for base reality epochs to be agreed upon. A world builder can use this today. Feed the engine your world's canon, get back a coherent novelty trajectory and predictions for underspecified eras. That's a real product, not a research artifact, and it funds the base reality work. A question and a flag. Question: when you recede for a virtual world, the agents themselves might need to be drawn from a different pool than the categorical doctrines we've been discussing.
I'll tell you mine. Let's let our words
Tolkien's universe has explanatory frames that don't reduce to dagger compact or cohesive topos in any natural way. Moral structure, providence, song as creation. Does that mean the agent factory has to be willing to instantiate frames whose content is literally whatever the authority hands it, with no constraint that they map to known mathematical doctrines? Or is there a deeper claim that all coherent worlds, including fictional ones, are reducible to some recognized categorical doctrine if you squint hard enough? Flag, if the engine works for fictional worlds, that's a strong methodological argument for the architecture is the answer bet. Because reality and Middle-earth share no physics, but they share coherence under receding. That coherence itself is what the engine is modeling. Not physics, not personality. The shape that any self-consistent reality has to have to be self-consistent at all. If that's the actual target, it's a different and more ambitious framing than the one we started with, and it might be the right one.
Tried to fight it and to save it, but when you left, I wasn't there. And I was feeling crazy, but you left. I was all twisted up in my head, trying to fit into spaces I never should have been in. I'm not made for it. I'm not made for it. Like trying to fit a square into a circle. All these spaces I don't fit in, and I'm not made for it.
Yes, the irony is that unified theory of everything was the modest version. What we've slid into is closer to unified theory of theories that can hold together at all. Physics is one instance, every coherent world is another, and the engine is what makes coherence itself the object of study. Quietly, that's exactly the kind of move that historically does work. Newton wasn't trying to unify mechanics, he was trying to figure out planets. Cantor wasn't trying to formalize infinity, he was trying to understand trigonometric series. The bigger frame fell out of the tool because the tool turned out to be more general than the problem. Same shape here. We started with is physics fractal and ended up with what is the structure that any self-consistent reality has to share for it to be self-consistent. A small piece of honest hedge before I forget to say it. The move from matches physics to matches any coherent world is also where this kind of project usually goes off the rails. The richer the engine, the easier it is for it to fit anything, and a theory that fits anything predicts nothing. The defense is the cosmological novelty curve and the response to receding signature across instantiations. Those are constraints the engine has to honor, not just produce. As long as we hold to empirical curves as the validation, the ambition doesn't run away from us. The moment we start grading the engine on its philosophical elegance instead of on its curves, it's over. Want to memorize the through line of where we landed before we close the session, or push on something specific next?
To December, blessing for my dama. Monday reach Friday, chukunya rem support. Grace they overflow. Mommy sweets me die. Who they run the show now? God most high. fresh fire. God spark me like new wire. Love for ground, but papa me past designer. I march forward, nobody if you stop my matter. I be street tiger. Blessing bus pipe, on my overflow like broken geyser. Grace display, mash and blinders like touchlighter. Levels change, God lift me higher. I turn high flyer. January to December, blessing for my domot. Hey. Monday reach it Friday, chukunya rem support. Grace they overflow. On me switch me die. Who they run the show now? God no style. January to December, blessing for my domot. Monday reach it Friday, chukunya rem support. Grace they overflow. On me switch me die. Who they run the show now? God no style. Favor they fly, come land for my head, no turbulence, just design a breeze. Harvest choke, my storehouse full, blessings they increase. Set body member, you package my matter, arrange and with these. Breakthrough take over, wahala waka disappear like breezes. Back to back wonders, some more testimonies, plenty like receipt. Darren sweets, God carry me finish, king salute kings who said already. January to December, blessing for my domot. Monday reach it Friday, chukunya rem support. Grace they overflow. On my sweets me die. Who they run the show now? God most high. Now God do blessing when no get part two. Now him they run now. If you no believe, wait you go see your own. We move on.
Right on both counts. On fractality as the defense. Yes, that's stronger than what I said. A theory that fits anything by being vague predicts nothing. A theory that fits anything because it has self-similar structure that resolves to specifics under inspection is doing real work. Every level of Zoom produces concrete claims. The engine's generality and its specificity aren't in tension. They are the same property viewed at different scales. That's the actual defense. I undersold it. On compute economics, this is the real problem, and it's worth being precise about it. The elegant formula on a 1950s calculator, intuition, is correct in spirit. Physics has historically rewarded compression. F equals ma, E equals mc2, the Schrödinger equation. People expect a TOE to be a one-line equation because every prior unification was. The engine looks like a step in the wrong direction. But there's a distinction worth making. Compare two regimes. Compute to use the theory, given the theory, predict an outcome. F equals ma is cheap here. Lattice QCD is not. Compute to find the theory. Search the space of candidate theories for one that fits. For use, simple wins. Always has, always will. For find, simple is irrelevant. The theory is either there or it isn't. Newton didn't search, he guessed and checked. That worked when the search space was small enough to navigate by intuition. We've now exhausted what intuition can do. Gravity won't quantize, dark matter won't show up, generations won't explain themselves. The remaining theory space is too combinatorial for guess and check. What the engine does is compute-heavy finding. Once it lands on whatever it lands on, the result it produces should be compressible. Maybe to a one-liner, maybe to a small structural specification. That compressed form is what gets used. The engine itself is scaffolding, like the LHC. Nobody runs the LHC to use the standard model. They ran it to find the Higgs. After it's found, you write it down on one page. So the practical resolution. The engine isn't competing with F equals ma on use cost. It's competing with the next 20 years of physicist careers spent guessing categorical structures. Against that baseline, it's wildly cheap. The output it produces, assuming it produces anything, should be as compact as any prior unification. A real concern hiding underneath your point, though, if the engine only works as a giant compute-heavy oracle and you can't extract a compressed form from its outputs, then we have a problem. The engine might produce equilibria that match the cosmological novelty curve and the response to receding signature beautifully. But the equilibria themselves are uncompressible, millions of agent allocations, no clean structure. That would be a black box that predicts but doesn't explain. Useful, but not a theory of everything in the sense people want. The defense against that, the fractal structure you just named. A genuinely fractal equilibrium is compressible by definition. You describe the generating rule and the recursion depth, you get the whole structure back. If the engine's outputs are fractal, they are compressible. If they aren't, the architecture is wrong. So compressibility of output isn't a hope. It's a constraint the engine has to honor for the bet to pay off. If we run the engine, hit the curves, and the equilibria turn out to be uncompressible noise, that's evidence against the fractal claim, not for it. 3 different angles on what to do with this. Pick one. Engineering. What's the smallest possible engine that exhibits the recedent equilibrate property? Strip everything to the minimum that still produces the validation curves. If the minimum is small, the architecture is sound. If the minimum keeps growing, the architecture is wrong. Theoretical. Is there a known mathematical object that is a fractal equilibrium under self-similar receding that we could check the engine's outputs against? Iterated function systems. Self-affine attractors. If the engine's outputs converge to something with a known compressed description, we get the one-page version for free. Strategic. Does the engine ship as a finder, compute-heavy, run once per question, or a runtime, compute-heavy initially, but cache/compressed equilibria are reusable? The runtime model is much more demanding, but much more useful long-term.
Bring it back for me. Let me hold you like a memory. No rush, we can flow endlessly. Just you and me in this melody. And if I ever get to be a fraction of the man who built the world of trust for me with those 2 steady hands, well, I will know I've done all